One, two. One, two. All right, let's jump in and I'll just run through this stuff for the week. Not to discourage any of you guys chatting. Yeah, you guys were having good chats. I was listening while I was getting it set up. Yeah, I'll jump over and get stuck into this. Yeah, the tech demo for. Hang on, I'm just going to mute this and move across. It's all working though. Great. Good. Cool. It should just be the one now, I hope. All right, so I'll just go through these sessions. Last week we looked at just kind of getting a session layout, getting things happening. This is my super wide screen. It's I love it. It's good. And then I have a separate TV for the video. Sometime I gave my son my little monitor for plugins, but I really like editing with a nice wide screen. You can kind of get it all the way out there. Yeah, but this is good. This is Luke's. Yeah, notice you've got your VCAs at the end, which is fine. Just a different layout. We've got the yeah, it's all dialogue there. So music. Yeah, so this is all music stem. This is the first person's one, I take it. And then we've got the other person's one underneath. Which all looks like it's there. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff. We've got so that's music for all. Sure. What? What's coming through? How is? Oh, I might have turned it down when I was doing. Is that a bit? That might be a bit better. All right. Yeah. Yeah, if you need more volume, again, just let me know. So yeah, what do we got? Backgrounds. A, which is room tone, so that's, yeah, A, B, and C. So these are the backgrounds I put in, and then we've got the footsteps here, Foley and Foley cloth. So it's always one big bunch. Yeah, we've got more environments, and then more sweat. Yeah, so it's just neat. Looks like you got all the groups in, and they're all working. Yeah, and I'll just suggest which is maybe what you're aiming to do. I'll try and get these just. Oh, hang on. There. Just try and condense the groups so that we're not jumping. Oh, we've got an ambience in one group and another ambience in another. So limiting the groups will just, I think, will help quite a lot. PFX. Yep, this one. Yeah. That's from the dialogue edit, and this is also from there as well. Yeah, so you had your own one as well. Yeah, I'll just go through and just try and get those playing. So we've got music effects as well, miscellaneous. Yeah, I'd say just getting those. Yeah, just like half or even a third of the amount of groups, or just like really, you just need to commit some decisions because I'd find it difficult. Like say dialogue, it's one group, boom, all there. Music, one, maybe two groups. Backgrounds should be like two, maybe three. Effects, 4 or 5, and it depends what you want to do with Foley, but just like kind of bring them all into really consistent groups. So all of the sounds that are working together for the same thing. Like if it's, we might have doors in some groups and same in the other. So just, I would suggest trying to. Yeah, so old people, I've noticed, so SoundFirm, when I've mixed in there, they will often keep Foley just as a separate group altogether. I find it, I like to get my edits a little bit more edited, so I'll integrate Foley. If I've got, say, a specific group for, say, doors, and there, or, what's a thing? Yeah, like doors, and then Foley's done some of the key sounds and some of the door rattle and a few other sounds for the door. I'd try and integrate them into one group, so they're just working. They're all on those 5 or 6 tracks, all in that one group. So then it's like when I go hunting for the door sound because it's too loud, it's all in one place. And then rather than, okay, I'll turn those door sounds down, it's like, it's still too loud, and you have to go hunting for those other sounds. I personally like to integrate. Yeah, and even integrate some of the PFX. Which is, who did that last week? Chris, I think, integrated some of the production effects into the same groups as where the sound effects were, because they're working together. It's just kind of almost like committing those decisions. And then I'll end up having some Foley groups probably where it's all just fluff and like, a bit of skin taps and hands and all of this, which might not really fit into a hard effects group quite as much. It's all kind of like miscellaneous Foley. It's very Foley-ish. Yeah, and then what are we wearing now? I'm just going to play a bit. Calibration. I'll just get the picks in. Spinning up a hard drive. So interesting, everyone's different composition
It's
approach.
difficult to give my dad a fitting tribute.
Overall ambience is it super
People that
loud.
knew him.
Like that one.
His last years, he was barely there at all. Today comes as a relief to me, having watched him in...
Yeah, it just needs to play through and just edit it and yeah, just dissonant, not working. So just making some decisions. So it's like, looks like you got everything in. You just need to get everything into the groups, which is hard work, and then giving everything a bit of an edit against each other, and just try and chisel away a little bit because it's a bit too dense, and you need to make some decisions to thin it out a little bit. So yeah, it looks like you got to start, but you just need to get that bit more done. Let's see who else we've got. Save doesn't matter. Yeah. Picks in. I'm just aware of the time. Link. I'm glad we got through a lot of those chats. All right, yeah. Dialogue VAFF. We don't need. Ah, that's this background stuff, which is interesting and weird. Yeah, condense up all of this stuff here. This should all be score all that we've got backgrounds. Ah, that is music. It's quite loud. Yeah, maybe just, I'm on 79. That felt quite loud to me.
It's difficult to give my dad a fitting tribute.
Yeah, piano is really good. Yeah, that's a problem. That fade is really unapologetic. So yeah, as a composer, like really when that's handed over, it shouldn't be fading out like that. Try and let it ring out. And then we're cutting out. So we want it to sound natural. That fade was, I wouldn't say it felt overly natural. And then I guess we, yeah, it's okay if you're going on the heels of a bit of music dialogue or something, but trying to find, either musically end it earlier or here's a little thing that I do just for trying to fix up tails. Oh god, it seems to be, which I'm not going to spend too long on. Far, chorusy, spacious, whatever. At least it's like a bit softened out. And then in the mix, you do these fades later on. So you got nothing else after that. Okay, then you can later on in the mix, which is kind of like what we're hoping for next week, if we can get through all of this, is with everything in. Background's a bit loud. Everything's just a bit loud, I think.
It's difficult to give my dad a fitting tribute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can send you like a dialogue track or something like that. Was kind of mixed, or just a film example. Yeah. But generally, like you'd be surprised how much. I mean, so yours sat really well. I found. I think from memory, yeah. I'm curious. I think just with Dan, I'm just curious where you were. Where you were sitting at with calibration, how much you focused it in. What were you calibrated at? Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Just I'd go through and just do get a calibration up there. What was it? Straight out the output. Over to the left. Pink noise, RMS. Yeah, so come back and stream that, and then through. So basically, if you guys are playing your, if this was playing fairly well through YouTube at a similar volume for the stream, and then if you open up, what was it? I'm using LSA light, C weighted, slow, press play, and then with this and this at minus 20 decibels, RMS pink noise through just the left speaker, you open this up and I'm sitting at, that's 78 for me. So I'm even monitoring a little bit quiet by a decibel. So playing that through your speaker just now, that should have been pretty solid. You wouldn't want to have a conversation over that. Sorry, I should have warned opening that up. Yeah, that'd be right. Yeah. That's yeah. So it's I said it last week. It's just because I'm mixing. I just need to be able to hear through my monitors. I don't think I can mix on headphones for this section. So it is getting a bit of that. Is it I'm curious if it's playing through the left speaker, or well, man, I'm getting all of my feedback going on as well. So say that again. Ah. Ah. Right. So you didn't hear my you didn't hear my actual Pro Tools audio last week. Interesting. Okay, cool. Sure. Okay, great. All right, I'll turn if I turn that down, that should just do it then.
It's difficult.
Yeah. Cool. So that's good to know. All right, so yeah, and maybe I'll just turn it to no, it's fine as it is, even Omni, if that helps. Let me know if that's any better. Cool. Yeah, so the piano's really good. Just going back to that natural kind of feeling. Some of the just
It's difficult.
finishing mid melody can be really difficult.
It's difficult to give my dad a fitting tribute.
Because we resolve there. Look, you can even squeeze up a little bit at the start if we want. And that might just give us a bit of a... Yeah, and then by the end...
My dad a fitting tribute.
Cool. And then you can even ease it off slowly as well. So we're established more there. You kind of just ease it back. And we're even getting a little bit of volume spikes there. I'll probably do that clip gain even. Just dynamics are good, but you know, if we're getting that could be maybe a bit of a slight exit down in volume. And again here, just a bit of manual compression.
It's difficult to give my dad a fitting tribute.
Okay, and that, so what I'll often do is like, where do we want the music to be so it's not in the way there? I'm just going to pull that right down. Let's just turn this reverb up a little bit.
Tribute. Those very few people that need.
So it's just, I'm just kind of blocking it in.
It's difficult to give my dad a fitting tribute.
That's not in the way. And then you can even just do it.
It's difficult to give my dad a fitting tribute. Those very...
Yeah, so we've managed to go from down 13 decibels, but without noticing. And I'm just doing this on the VCA, so if you had all different stems and you got strings and everyone else going on, you can do that. So, I mean, that's pretty good. Then what I do, I won't do it yet. I'll show you this more next week with finessing. You've done that on the VCA, and then you can actually coalesce it down. So it takes everything from the VCA and drops it down onto the audio tracks, and then you can go through and do another pass with a fader or whatever. You can just like do little nudges. You just got a flat fader again, which is sometimes nice.
It's difficult to give my dad a fitting tribute.
Let's do little nudges again. So then we've just taken it off another 2 for that bit, and it still sounds natural. So it's just wax on, wax off. And that's why we want to get as much done in the next week with just organizing the session and then EQ. All right, I'm going to do a quick super crash course and then yeah, after we've got all of that done, then we can just smooth passes with that over. It'll take a couple of weeks. That's when I would say you're ready for the director to come in to smash it. All right, I'll just look at one more sesh. This one. Cool. got no dialogue there. I'm not sure why. Maybe accidentally deleted it? Don't know. Half our tracks aren't going out the right output. Looks like you got things in some pretty tight groups. Cloth, yeah, I'm just going to mute cloth for the most part, except if they're actions. Yeah, we can get in there and we've got some. This ringtone is pretty hectic. It feels like it's sitting at a fairly good volume. I don't have dialogue, so I will... I'll import. I really want to show a bit of that today, but sitting at fairly good levels. ADR up here in your dialogue, next to your dialogue tracks. Yeah. Be curious in here. It's getting fades on all of those, I think, as well. From memory, this was quite a dense area with all the Foley in there as well, so it might just be a little bit of pick and choose between. Thing out. Maybe you don't need this blanket. At least we're just kind of between two groups. We've got a little bit of actions here as well. Yeah, but they're very separate. That's good. Good, but then we've got down in here. We've got a little bit of this as well. So I'd maybe integrate these ones up. Yeah, just the wooden box. Get it up there with these, and then you can kind of pick and choose between some stuff there. Yeah, it's all sitting pretty good, and now it's ready to. Yeah, you can shuffle some sounds around onto the different tracks a little bit, but it's all making fairly good sense. Some of your backgrounds are pretty loud, but so it's just now I'm just thinking Lynchian, like what would you have here? Someone's depressed and you could just have like banging hammers, or you could have like just people screaming in pain. I don't know. Coming at it from a different angle completely. All right, I'm gonna maybe I'll just open up the other session from last week. Yeah, that session it's good. Yeah, just you got all your stuff in there. Everything's kind of sitting there, fairly well balanced and working. Alright, now, oh my god, what's going on that one? Okay, so we're sitting...
For so long, I choose not to remember him as he was in recent years.
Evan, did you want to mention something, or your mic came unmuted for a sec? Integrating is just, yeah, basically you've got some of the box happening in one group, and then sorry, it was just like hear myself back in about 5 seconds after, which is so confusing. Integrating is just, yeah, integrate the Foley up into the other group. So anything to do with the box that you've already articulated in effects, you can bring those Foley bits up and just combine them in the one group, basically. So instead of having them in separate groups, you can just have them all in the one group. Yep. All right. Yeah, this is a session. So I'm going to focus on dialogue for a second here. So the good thing about HD is you have all of this window automation. You have all of these, and you can preview. You can have different. I think you can do these in standard, but you've got all these write, join, preview, capture, and all of this all in one go. So it means that you can. So I'll just bring in that soothe, just an EQ, and we'll just go make it flat. Yep. You can put this into touch or latch or touch latch. Okay. Now if you look at this, it's going to write the automation as I do it. So if I'm doing this,
My dad, a fitting tribute.
if I do that, okay, then it's going to snap back. But then when I press
My
play,
dad, a fitting tribute.
it's going to draw in all of that automation there. But that's not overly useful. Oh yeah, to do that, make sure you go over to operation. Editing, mixing. Where is it? Processing. It's turning all. I do this once. I set up Pro Tools. It is enable all automation for plugins. Plugins, yeah, here you go. Screen capture that. Plugins, plugin controls default to auto enabled. So you want that on. It's very, very important. The reason being, if it's off, and you go to plugin, it auto enables all of these. If it's off, you have to enable these one by one, and it's painful. And to enable it one by one, you have to go into the plugin, whatever you want to select. You press Control, Option, Command, click, and enable or disable the automated plugin. And that's just enabling that one gain there, which we don't. It's just going to be, it's a pain. So yeah, make sure you do that. That's probably one of the biggest things to remember. When that's off, it won't do it. I'll even show you. Plugin, cool. Let's go to EQ. Yep, great. And then we try and lock in our automation. It's not there. Plugin controls default to auto enabled. We'll do it like that. There you go. So when you enable it, it'll put in all of those there. With automation, the quick way to get, you can go through here and you go, okay, I want to have volume, and you can click on there and find everything you need. and panning and all of that. The quick way to do it is press Control, Command, and click on the one you want, and we'll come up with that automation. So for volume automation, Control, Command, and click on volume. It'll come up with volume. Pan. There you go. That's our panning. Indoor. You know, just the output volume there. There you go. And just go straight to that. It's the output level of the EQ fab filter. And good luck with trying to find it. I don't even know where it is. Down the bottom. There you go. Yeah. So that'll save you a lot of time. Control, Command, and click on it. And then to get out of volume, a quick way to just get out of it is press the minus button. All right. Indoor we'll do next week. Soothe I'll do in a second. So in HD, put this on. You can go into preview. And it will keep the settings whatever you do. So it will kind of freeze what you do. So you can go like this.
Those very few people that knew him as a complex.
Okay, and it's going to hold it. So it's previewed and it's now just captured for that second. You can press play and it keeps it there. You can move it later. It'll keep it there. The only thing that it might change is if you have automation waypoints for later on, but should keep.
Those very few people.
So then what we can do with that is we can listen to the voice, and I'm just going to show you, like, basically just listen for the low, try and balance out the lows, mids, and highs. If you're doing that, that's like a big part of it, and then you can start to deal with a little bit of sibilance, and you can over EQ things pretty easy. But lavs will often sound really quite MIDI, and there's a certain specific range there. You can get into more and more detail. EQ is tricky. If you know it, yeah, push yourself to try and get it as clear and notch out at some things as much as you can. If you're going simple, I would suggest just sticking to kind of these frequency ranges. So you've got
a fitting tribute. Those very few people that knew him as a complex man.
Okay, so I mean, I always do a low pass filter. Bring that up.
A fitting tribute.
I won't do a high one necessarily.
Those very few people that knew him.
Got lows, which are kind of up around here. You know, that's about what, 200, maybe a bit lower for men.
A fitting tribute.
And you got the mids.
A fitting
around 1K, and then you've got the highs around 5K, and then you got like the super highs and all of that up there. That's just kind of air, and that's all well and good. This will be your intelligibility. This will be, it's kind of like body, chest, throat, and head, like all of the sibilance in the mouth, stuff like that. So
a fitting tribute.
So that's all the head. Can you hear that?
Very few people.
Solo.
A fitting.
So this is just singling out these frequencies. Just all the S's and all of that.
In his last years, he was barely there at all.
That's all the mid frequencies.
Today comes
and then we've got low.
As a relief to me, having not been in pain for so long.
Yep.
I choose.
Lavs will be, and the good thing about getting this feedback, visual feedback with FabFilter, is you can actually sometimes see the resonances.
A fitting.
So you can see that it's just like bumping up around here a little bit.
Very.
And I mean, I'll narrow it in.
A fitting tribute. So
kind of in there. I'll just drop down kind of the lows a little bit. It sounds very chesty, and you can open up the cue. You know, broad passes, you know, drop down a few here and up a few in other frequencies.
A fitting tribute. Those very few people that knew him knew him as a complex man.
Yeah.
Today comes as a relief to me, having watched him in pain for so long. I choose not to remember him.
We're hearing some pretty good intelligibility in the top end.
But instead imagine a fitting tribute. Those very few people that knew him as a complex man. And in his last years, he was barely there at all.
Great. Yeah, it can be really helpful just to get to know EQs, and it's good feedback. Another thing you can do for all Pro Tools versions is you can try and find a version of Blue Cat patchwork, and that can be quite good. And then you can open up audio units and you can find student versions of them. You know, half of the, like GRM, I haven't paid for GRM, just saying. I should be saying that publicly on YouTube. Anyway, yeah, so that's like an EQ that you can do there. So I'm still in preview mode, and it's just keeping it all there, right? In Pro Tools, you've also got this thing where you can lock in that EQ. It's up here in Edit, Automation. It is Trim All to All Enabled. So then you can just go boom, select that area. It'll have this EQ and maybe whatever other settings you've got there. I'm going to take off pan and volume. So I'm just doing plugin. So it's got all of these EQ settings here. Yeah, like that. Control, Option, Command, and the question mark or slash. Boom. So it's put it in there. And then I go and have a look at. So I'm pressing Control, Command, click, and it's put a point there, an automation point there for all of the plugin settings. So if I take it out of preview, as you can see, when we're here, it's set to that, and then when we click away, it goes back to 0. It just goes back to normal. Okay, so that means that you can do the same thing for here. And the benefit of having the same microphones on the same tracks is they'll often sound similar, but they're often going to sound really, really different as well, so just be careful. And you will need to adjust as you're going. Booms will often sound very, very different. I think the biggest priority is to try and EQ the mic out of it so it feels like a transparent thing. Like, you know, if it sounds really, just so it feels balanced in the lows, mids, and highs. If you can't hear the lows, bring them up a little bit. If it sounds really throaty and really covered up like this, then can take out a little bit of the low frequencies and open up the highs a little bit. Okay, so when you're doing that, and then you can click on the next one, and
Michael?
okay.
Michael?
Oops, say now I haven't got it in preview and it's just copying that.
Michael?
It's hectic. Okay, I'll go like that. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm just going to add it to all of that. So that's all slammed in there. And go on to the next bit.
Sorry.
Stuff.
It's all just sounds. Cool. Smash it in there as well.
What? No. Bed's still there.
Yeah, it's all just her mic. And that's probably most of what I would try and correct.
What?
Man, you could probably go a bit more, compare.
I'm just gonna keep in the van.
No. Bed's still there. No.
Everyone's-
Bed's still there. No. Bed's still there. No. Bed's still there. No. Bed's still there. No. Bed's
So that's
still
one
there.
kind of EQ.
No. Bed's still there.
Sometimes I'll
No.
even use 2 EQs or an EQ and a de-esser. And then maybe on the second track, I'm probably doing it less now because I'm using Soothe. But sometimes I would use another EQ after it for doing notching. So the first EQ is a little bit more just general. Second one's a bit more notching. So notching is looking like...
No, bed's still there.
It takes a little bit to get focused in on the EQ, so I'm not in the complete zone there.
Bed's still there.
But you can start to kind of listen to...
Bed's...
Got a bit of a harsh.
Bed's still there. Bed's still there.
Where is it?
Bed's still there.
It's just like broadband.
Bed's still there.
It's not overly harsh.
Still there.
It's just loud.
Bed's still there. No. Bed's still there.
There's a little bit of a resonance in the
No.
around in here.
Bed's still there. Bed's still there. No.
Pretty much a little
Bed's
bit of
still
that.
there. No. Bed's still there. No.
But
Bed's
I mean, if you don't know anything about, if you haven't done notching before, I'll just like avoid that. But it's kind of like a second pass. The big one is just that I think everyone can do is those low mids and highs. Just don't push it. You know, if you're pushing it over, like if you're subtracting 3 from some areas and adding 3 to others, you can't go terribly wrong. But you can balance it out a little bit. Some mics are going to sound terrible. Then there's moments... what else we
He
got?
refused to even discuss it.
What's the time? Oh man, I'm at 10 minutes. Okay, so that's with Ultimate. And I recommend you go get that. Now, if you don't want to get that, or you know, you can't get it, the other way, this is why it's really good to condense all your tracks. The hack around, which I don't really like heaps. I mean, these are the only tracks that you're going to have EQ on, probably. The rest you can kind of put on bigger groups and all of that. But say we're going to...
Is it you? How are you here?
Say if you want to EQ this different to these ones here, I'll duplicate that out. And copy that down to a new track. Especially for EQ and just for the dialogue, it's just not worth it. And then you're going to do 2 completely different EQs and you're not going to punch in. So this EQ is for everything that's on this track. Okay, and so we can keep it quite general. Broad passes. So for this one, this top track, I probably could have just kept all the EQs pretty similar to that. I'm only just taking a little bit out at the mids and the lows and bumping a little bit of the highs up, and that's probably enough for a lot of the tracks. And then if there's a specialty track that I would need to do, I'll drop it down to a track of its own just for this.
Is it...
And then
Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you?
you can get away with a lot more, I find, than music. Something that sounds pretty natural. Alright, so, and then say we wanted to do this one differently.
How are you here? How are you here?
Okay, that's a pretty good example of... Doesn't sound...
How are you here?
You can hear that low resonance.
How are you here?
All of this area
How are
here.
you here? How are you here?
It's not distorting out or anything like that, but it's just a bit strong. You can just soften that out a little bit by a few decibels.
How are you here? How are you here? How are you here? How are you here?
Yeah, just a bit of that. True. That's good. That's good, good, good. Yeah, so well then what you can, yeah. Well, going off this. Yeah, I think that would be good. You can totally do that. I would probably in that case say separate the tracks like this. and EQ the ones, you know, so you've got all your EQs, and then what you can do is take this, drag it up, then drag this up to the second slot. All right, then in this EQ, Control Command click the bypass, and you can bypass that EQ. Actually, we want to go the other way around. You can just bypass EQs on and off. It's a bit of a hack, and you're gonna have to have multiple EQs running. This might save you some tracks. Okay, and then this one, we want to go the other way. Okay, so then what's happened is all we've done is automated the EQs to start and stop. So there, the second one is bypassed, and this one, the first one's bypassed. So now we're able to get
Is it you?
2 different EQs.
How are you here?
Okay. That's, I would suggest doing that. If you got HD, you can go a little bit further, and then I always whack on top. Even just in its standard form, Soothe is quite good, and will get rid of a lot of those. It's basically doing a lot of those resonances and that resonance pass, and even a little bit of auto, like de-essing.
Is it you? Is it you? Is it you?
So it's just taking out some of them, and it will adapt.
How are you here?
Yeah, and then you're basically just playing it through. Like it takes quite a while. You're just playing it through.
People that knew him as a complex man. And in his last years, he was barely there at all. Today comes as a relief to me, having watched him in pain for so long. I choose not to remember him as he
I still hear this.
having watched him in pain for so long.
It's that you can hear it in that note there.
Belong.
Automation hell. You might just have a bit too much in there. Low frequency still. Yeah, and then you can lock that in. Yeah, and that's all it is. I wouldn't go, if you're doing more ±3 in the EQ, I think you're going a bit crazy. Especially, just treat this as like the correction pass. You're just trying to balance everything, make everything sound good. Yeah. So have a go at that. Even the same pass you want to. So, I mean, you can add a de-esser maybe later, but if there's strong S's as you're going through.
Is it you?
Is it?
All right.
4 minutes to show you guys. I want to show you guys a bit of.
He refused to even discuss it.
See, you can hear how muffly that is.
He refused to even discuss it. He refused to even discuss it.
It just sounds
He refused to even discuss it.
muffly. So just bring up a little bit of that highs, take out a little bit of the mids and the lows maybe, and get rid of a little bit of that chest. But if there are
He refused to even discuss.
If there are loud S's, you can see them. Boom. It's like really tightly compact. You can see the frequencies. And you can just kind of go through and just duck out some of the loud ones as well. I'll do that all the way through the mix.
Kind of always thought you'd come back.
Okay. Yeah, do an EQ pass. Just try and get everything all balanced. I can't find a specific S, but I'm sure they'll come up. All right, we're out of time. But the final thing I want you guys to do is, I can touch on it more again next week, but try and go through and do your EQ. The quick way with EQ is, okay, say we want this to sound like it's coming out the right, and we want to keep it away from, say, if there's other things on the track. You just Control Command click on that panner, and then you can kind of just move it like that. Cool. So now it's coming out of the right a little bit. As far as panner is concerned, the panner, it's dead center. Keep all your dialogue dead center, especially for now, unless it's so clearly that they're off to the side. But generally, just keep it all dead center. I would generally go, it's not perfect, but generally minus 50% to plus 50% is the edges of the screen. I find that generally translates pretty well. And then off to the side even more, you're starting to get a little bit more, someone's calling way off in the distance, off screen, or you're getting a lot more stylized. And you're starting to step there into where music is sitting. It's kind of like the music's part of the soundstage. So I'll kind of leave a little bit of space there for that. But ambiences can go fairly wide though. You can keep them all the way out, dial them in a little bit if you want, but generally I'll keep them pretty wide. That's okay. Yeah, but you'll want to go through and do things like, they're all fairly fine. You'll be surprised how little effects to pan there is. Don't worry about things like, say, this shot here. She's maybe sitting 4 degrees off center. Don't worry about that. She's in the center. Think blunt. Like even this one, dishes, they're up in the center. Don't worry about a lot of that stuff. You know, footsteps, you want to pan around. Foley, if there's dialogue going on at the same time, you want to keep Foley panned to the center as well. Yeah, and then have a go at panning with the music. Yeah, totally. You know, we got this. Have a go at it. I'd listen to one at a time and go, okay, this tone. Maybe we send that off to the left, and then this. Okay, and then maybe that might be interesting to come off right to the hard left. 50% left, roughly where she is when we see it. Boom. So maybe that's kind of cool. Stereos. I mean, this is where 5.1 really comes into it. Again, in preview mode with the latch, you can kind of do one at a time and just kind of take it out of plug-in and put it into pan, and you can just go through and just pan them one at a time. You know, it's that one there. Maybe we keep that really wide. Maybe we keep this in a little bit. They should be, I don't know what, that. Whoa, wacky. It's not doing it. Whatever. Maybe, you know, bring that in a little bit, you know, 75% or something like that. And then the last one here. Maybe, you know, to keep this kind of on the edge of in the scene and out of the scene, maybe that's sitting at like 50%. So it's sitting right on the edge of the cinema screen. Okay, then all together. Yeah, you got like really wide stuff, and then it comes in, and then you got the whispers. Yeah, I like it. The whispers are kind of sitting inside of the music is kind of holding it all in and holding it all together. Yeah, so go through and be strategic there. Panning a lot of the Foley as things happen. Footsteps pan. You'd be surprised how much little, like music definitely pan can get a place for them, and ambience definitely find a place for them as well. We've just run out of time, so I've got to go. I've got to run off to some consults now, but I'll touch on it again next week. Big priority this week is just making sure that you get your session really well organized, try and get some EQs in there, and just try and smooth out some of that dialogue a little bit more, so it just feels a bit more balanced. And next week if you can get all that done, we will bring up reverb sends and start to get a little bit creative with maybe some group masters, so we can kind of, you know, use some big sweeping EQs on the groups to kind of get some stylized effects where it all starts to get a bit more fun there, in my opinion. All right, I'll chat to you guys next week. I've got to go.